Hello everyone. The Adult Protective Services Technical Assistance Resource Center, the APS STARC, welcomes you to today's webcast recording titled State NAMRS XML File Upload and Validation Process. Today's presenters are Andre Feijó, NAMRS State Liaison, and Laura Miles, NAMRS State Liaison. The APS STARC works in coordination with the Administration for Community Living, ACL, Office of Elder Justice and Adult Protective Services, with the vision to support APS programs in improving the safety and well-being of adult victims of maltreatment, with a mission to enhance the effectiveness of APS programs, and with a goal to build the capacity of APS programs by increasing the use of best, promising, informed practices. A component of the APS STARC is a National Adult Maltreatment Reporting System, NAMRS, which is the first comprehensive national reporting system for adult protective services programs. The federal fiscal year 2020 marks the 5th year that NAMRS collects data from states and territories. And one of our biggest technical assistance requests thus far has been about XML. So today's webinar objectives are: we want to provide an overview of extensible markup language, XML, and what is the NAMRS XML schema document. We will show you the steps on how to extract data from your state's information system in the required XML schema. We will demonstrate both the XML structure validation process and the XML content validation. We will describe the role of your state liaison in accepting the data in the NAMRS system. And finally, we will provide some tips and general information about XML.
Let's begin with gaining an understanding of the definition of markup language. It is a computer language that consists of easily understood keywords, names or tags that help format the overall view of a page and the data it contains. Examples of markup language include XML and HTML. XML, or Extensible Markup Language, uses a simple text-based format and supports the NAMRS data structure. It is used to describe data and defines a set of rules for encoding documents that is both human and machine readable. HTML, Hypertext Markup Language, is another type of markup language considered the standard for documents designed to be displayed in a web browser, the website content human readable, and in the background the actual coding for it to be machine readable. Here is an illustration of a sample NAMRS XML markup language for one investigation case record. If you review the content more closely, it contains a string of names and tags that are familiar, such as investigation, investigation ID, close date, report date, clients and client IDs, perpetrators, maltreatment, and relationships. There are 6 key steps that need to be undertaken by your state when you are moving to complete the XML upload and validation process as outlined on this slide. First, obtain the NAMRS XML schema document or XSD file format. 2, the state writes an application to extract and format the data into an XML file in the NAMRS schema from their case management data system. 3, an XML structure validation step occurs. Using state validation software, the state uploads and validates the state XML file to the NAMRS XSD file schema. 4, content validation occurs. This includes uploading and validating the state XML file to the NAMRS validation rules within NAMRS. 5, the NAMRS system then generates a validation results report for the state to review. 6, your designated NAMRS liaison completes the data acceptance review, and you are notified of these results through automated email messaging and within NAMRS as statuses. This slide provides a high-level validation process visual that illustrates the steps that were covered in the previous slide. First, the XML structure validation occurs by the state using the state's XML validation software. This is an automated feature as a part of the upload process. Errors at this stage prevent further NAMRS processing. If it fails validation upload, then it is not uploaded. Next, there is the content validation that is automated within NAMRS. This validation step generates a validation results report in NAMRS that can be reviewed. If there are noted errors, then there will be detail provided to help you pinpoint resolution. Lastly, there is an overall data acceptance review by your state's designated NAMRS liaison. Data is either approved or there are items found that require resubmission by your state. Your liaison will notify you in NAMRS about these status changes, and you will also receive an automated email message with the results of the liaison's review. Let's begin with the first step. What is the NAMRS XML schema document, XSD file? It describes the structure and content of the characteristics of the XML file needed for uploading to the NAMRS website. The XSD detail is available to you on the NAMRS website under the Resources tab at the specified URL location, which is where all NAMRS specifications are stored for your easy reference. Step 2. Someone in your state that is familiar with computer programming language needs to write an application using the state's preferred programming language to query your state's information system database and output the XML file in compliance with the NAMRS XML schema, or XSD. Some of the suggested programming languages to use to write the application include Python, Java, JavaScript, C++, C#, PHP, and Perl. The application created will issue a query and structure data in the correct hierarchy with correct data types that match the NAMRS case component XML schema format. Step 3 is the XML structure validation, which is validating the state NAMRS XML file to the NAMRS XSD schema. The purpose is to verify the XML structure and data element specifications. For example, size and data type. The process includes validation using the state's preferred XML validation software, such as XML Spy, Liquid XML, or others. One key tip here is to produce a file with only a few records in it and attempt the validation process using your state's preferred XML validator. This will ensure the correct structure for the entire file, thus saving you valuable time. In this example, the state using an XML validation software found the following XML structure validation errors. The error messages are color-coded and point you to the lines in the XML file that contain the errors. If you look closely, the client has 2 maltreatment settings, 2 closure reasons, and 2 gender identities. The XML editor error messages will point out that those elements cannot appear more than once in the client element. This slide highlights the 13 NAMRS XSD schema rules that are validated against the named entities listed on the right-hand side of the slide. Specifically, rules relating to the entities of client, maltreatment, relationship, perpetrator, investigation, file info, and one rule that relates to all data elements. Step 4. The XML file has been successfully uploaded, and now the content validation, or the validating of the state's NAMRS XML file to the NAMRS validation rules, can occur. This content validation is completed by NAMRS at the time of data upload. This slide provides a screenshot of the process you will use within NAMRS to upload the XML case file for case component content validation. Under the case component heading of Upload Case File, you will click on the Select File to Upload, highlighted in yellow, in order to execute the upload of the case component XML file.
Thank you, Laura. Now that the state has uploaded their XML file in the system, NAMRS will validate the content against the 32 NAMRS data validation rules. This could take a few minutes or a few hours, depending on your file size. This slide shows that the validation rules are broken down by the client entity, the relationship entity, the perpetrator entity, and the investigation entity. Overall, there are 32 data validation rules. More details on the rules can be found in the NAMRS Case Component Validation Rules document, located in your resource folder of the NAMRS portal. As you can see in this slide, after the system has completed the validation process, a report of errors will be available should any of the rules are violated. For example, in this report, Rule N1130 shows as being in violation. The disability code value of 9, which is none, must not be used in conjunction with other code values. This slide shows other rules in violation. For example, Rule N1140 shows as being in violation the behavioral health screening or diagnosis code value of 10, which is none, must not be used in conjunction with other code values. This slide demonstrates how you can download a file with all the individual cases that did not pass any of the 32 data validation rules. In order to do this, please click on Download a file with all error messages under the Validation Errors tab, as demonstrated in this slide. This slide gives you an example of a validation errors report. Please note that this file is reproduced in Notepad. This is the opportunity for the state to look at the report and fix each individual case in order that they pass the validation rules. Once the cases have been fixed, the state can repeat step 4, illustrated in slides 13 and 14, titled Uploading XML Case File for Content Validation, to reproduce another error report. States can repeat step 4, illustrated in slide 13 and 14, as many times as they need to in order to decrease the number of errors in their submission. If there are errors that the state cannot fix, the system allows you to include a state response. In this slide, we can see how the state included a state response for those errors that they were not able to fix in their XML file. For example, if the validation errors cannot be fixed due to data entry errors or other reasons, the states can include that reason in the state response comment box, as seen here. Remember to work with your state liaison during this stage of your submission process if you have any questions as it relates to state response. In this slide, we can see the last step in the NAMRS data submission process. Once all content validation errors have been fixed, or the state has included a response as to why the validation error is in violation, your state liaison will approve the XML file and data will be uploaded into the system database. NAMRS will send an email notification to the state users about the approval of the case component data. This slide provides information on the required case component data elements. So if you're a state that is currently reporting on key indicators component or agency component only and are thinking about their possibility of submitting case component data, we want to remind you that the required case component data elements are investigation ID, case closure date, client ID, maltreatment type, disposition of alleged maltreatment, and perpetrator ID if your state is submitting perpetrator information. This slide provides an explanation about when you can use an XML unknown tag in your NAMRS XML file. Currently, NAMRS collects 54 data elements. 6 are required data elements and 48 are non-required data elements. For the non-required data elements, data is unknown when it is missing for a specific investigation. Here, the state can use the unknown tag for the data element within the XML file. In other words, the information being asked for was not screened, assessed, evaluated, or was unable to be determined for a specific investigation. And for non-required data elements, a specific data element is not submitted when it is not collected for any investigation. Obviously, in this scenario, the data element should not be mapped and included in the XML file for any of the investigation. This slide shows how the unknown tag, highlighted here in the XML file, is used for the non-required data element of disabilities. In this example, a disability is unknown or missing only for a specific investigation. Therefore, the unknown tag is used, demonstrated with a highlighted text here. This slide provides more tips on frequently asked questions of the NAMRS XML upload. For example, if a maltreatment refers to a perpetrator, the maltreatment must be substantiated. This is in reference to Data Validation Rule N1020. The system will remove the perpetrator information for unsubstantiated, inconclusive, other maltreatment disposition cases. Also, your state validation error report, illustrated in slide 20, will provide details to the particular perpetrator ID element that was removed. This slide provides other helpful tips about the perpetrator data element. For example, each investigation may have 0, 1, or more than one perpetrator. Also, a perpetrator must be associated with at least one substantiated maltreatment investigation that is associated with a specific client within the investigation. And a perpetrator may be associated with more than one investigation, but a separate perpetrator entity is required for each of the associated investigations. Also of equal importance is the use of encoding, or hash as commonly used, of the submitted IDs into NAMRS. This is to provide an additional level of confidentiality. The case level data specification requires that all submitted IDs of investigations, clients, and perpetrators be encoded or hashed. More so, unique identifiers for clients or perpetrators should be repeated across submissions. For example, a client ID in 2018 should be used in 2020. Further information regarding ID hashing guidelines is provided at the end of the case component data specification document located in your NAMRS resource folder. Finally, in your NAMRS resource folder, you can find a wealth of information about NAMRS. And if you are a state that is planning to submit case component data for the first time, or a state that has more questions about case component submission, we recommend you looking at these 3 documents: the NAMRS case component data specification, NAMRS case component validation rules, and the NAMRS definition of code values. And don't forget that your state liaison is available to answer your questions. Also, you can email us at support@apsstark.net. And a friendly reminder to please visit our APS Stark website at apsstark.acl.gov for resources like our APS blog, other webinars, and for requesting technical assistance. Finally, you can find the APS Stark in social media by clicking on the logo links in this slide. The APS Stark wants to thank you for your time, and we hope that this webinar was informative and helpful. Please don't hesitate to reach out to your state liaison if you have further questions. Thank you.